In this tutorial, we'll review all the operators that you'll be using in Lua. Operators are special expressions that can be used to determine the relationship of two values. They are often used with if statements to execute code when a condition is met. So I'm just going to open up main.lua and I'll get rid of everything I had there. And the first one, the first operator we're going to talk about is the equals sign, which you've already seen. Now, if we have a single equals sign, then that means assignment. So we're assigning the value 1 to the variable n. If we have two equal signs, then we're testing to see if something is equal to something else. So if n equals 2, then we'll say print okay. Else print not okay. So here we're using the equal sign to assign the value 1 to the variable n, and here we're using to test if the variable n is equal to 2. And when we run this, it will say not okay because it's not equal to 2. Let's change that. And now it says okay because this condition is met, so it executes this code. So that's the equal sign. It's used two different ways. Again, a single equals sign is for assignment. Two equal signs next to each other is for testing the value of something. Now the next one we're going to look at, the next operator, is less than. So it's just that symbol right there. We're going to say n is less than 0. Type that out. So n equals 2, we're assigning it here, and then we're saying if n is less than 0, we want to print the sentence n is less than 0. And because n is not less than 0, that condition is not met, and so this code does not get executed. Well, let's try n equals -1, and then in that case, n is going to be less than 0. And there it says, n is less than 0. So a really easy way you can remember this is that birds don't eat a lot. And so if you look at this like it's a bird's beak, then the beak points towards the small value. If you look at it like it's an alligator's mouth, well, alligators, they eat a lot. And so if you look at it that way, then the alligator's mouth will be opening towards the bigger value, and that leads to our next operator, which is the greater than sign, and that's just the same thing flipped around backwards. So let's set n equals to 1, and we'll say if n is greater than 0, then print n is greater than 0. There you go. Now you can also combine less than and equal and greater than with the equal sign, and this makes it n is greater than or equal to 0. So that means, let's see, n is greater than or equal to 0. So this will include 0 if n is equal to that. So if n is equal to 1, is that greater than or equal to 0? Yes. And there you see it. If n is equal to 0, is n greater than or equal to 0? Well, yes, it still is. And you can see that condition is being met. And so this code is being executed, so it's printing out that statement. Okay, if n is -1, is n greater than or equal to 0? No, it is not. And so nothing gets printed. And the less than or equal to symbol operator works exactly the same. N is equal to -1, so Is -1 less than or equal to 0? Yes. Is 0 less than or equal to 0? Yes. So that's all that is. We also have, we can tell if something is equal, like this, n equals 0. Let's test that out. Yes. Okay. But we can also tell if something is not equal to another value. So, and we do that with this this funny looking key. It's called the tilde. It's on the top left of your keyboard. If you hold the, you have to hold the shift key down in order to type this symbol, and then the key is on the top left of your keyboard. But this is the not equals operator. So let's say n equals 2, and so if n does not equal 0, then it will print out n does not equal 0. Okay. Let's change this to 2. So in this case, because n is equal to 2, if we do this test, then this code is not going to be executed because it's the one value that would make that condition not true. If we set it to 1, then is 1 not equal to 2? Yes, it is. N does not equal 2. So that's the not equals operator. Okay, we also have some logical operators. So in order to try these out, we need 2 values. So we're going to say a equals 1, b equals 2. And what we can use the AND operator to combine 2 statements into one. So we can say if a is greater than 0 and b is greater than 0, then we'll just print a and b are both greater than 0. Okay. So the AND operator, this requires both of these statements to be true and then it just gets combined into one condition. So if a is set to -1, well, that AND is going to detect that a is not greater than 0, and so this whole statement will no longer be true. And you can see it doesn't print anything. So let's add an else statement here. We'll say a or b is not greater than 0, right? So if this condition is not met, then the else statement right here will just cause this code to be executed. And we can see that's exactly what happened. It says down here, a or b is not greater than 0, and that is true because a is equal to -1. If we set a equal to +1, then it says a and b are both greater than 0, which is true. That's the AND statement. It requires both of these things to be true in order for the combined condition to be true. We also have the OR statement. And this will treat this whole condition as true if either of these conditions are true. So if a is greater than 0 or b is greater than 0, if either of those things are true, then this code will get executed. So let's just simplify this, and we'll just say yes. And if it's not true, then we'll say no. So if a is greater than 0 or b is greater than 0, it's going to print yes. Otherwise, it will print no. It prints yes because, well, in this case, both a and b are greater than 0. But what if we set a equal to -1? Well, a is no longer greater than 0, but b is. And this is an OR statement. This is not an AND statement. So it still says yes. Now, if I set them both to be negative numbers, then it's going to say no because neither of them are greater than 0. If I set one to a negative number and the other to a positive number, if I have an AND operator here, That requires them both to be true. And so that says no. If I have an or operator there, just the word or, then that means if either of them are true, then this whole condition is true and this code gets executed. And that's exactly what we see. Finally, we have the not operator. And this just allows you to, it's just kind of a shorthand way of testing Boolean values. So let's say b equals true. And we'll say if not b, then okay. Well, b is true, so if not b, then that probably means that this will not get executed, so we won't see anything printed out. Okay. What if we set b to false? If not b, then okay, this probably will print this out, right? And yeah, so this is really just a way this is kind of a shorthand way of typing if b equals false. That's all it is. That's the exact same thing. But we have one more trick we can do with this. We can use this to flip the value of a Boolean. So we can say b equals not b. Whoa. So if we start with b equals true, and then we say b equals not b, then that will set b to false, right? Right. If we flip it again, then that will set it back to true, right? I think so. Well, nothing was printed here, and this is testing if it was false, so it must be true. Okay, well, let's do it one more time. B equals not B. Okay, so first we're assigning B to be true. And then we're saying, well, no, B is not B. So if B is true, then that means the new value of B is false. And then we do it again, and we say, well, I changed my mind. B is not B. And if B is false, then now we're setting it to true. And then finally we're doing it one more time, and we're saying B is not B. And I'm almost losing track of this, but let's see. Okay, yeah, that sets it to false. And we can do this as many times as we want. It'll just flip back and forth. So these operators, we talked about the equal sign. We talked about less than, greater than, and then variations of that, which are less than or equal to, and greater than or equal to, as well as not equal. And then we talked about the logical operators and, or, and not. Now these are all things that you will frequently encounter while writing Lua scripts. And so you should really make sure you understand how these all work. And if you have any questions, then you can ask on the forum or on our Discord server. But yes, if you just make sure you understand these before you continue. But you're doing really great. So I'll see you in the next lesson.